All right, and we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from the Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate out there everyone listening to all of our great shows, and if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you also can like, support, follow, subscribe, whatever you can do to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, it is immensely appreciated. Well, we're still in that bubble in Orlando, and right now there's still some things going on. We hear the rumors of some of the players liking it, some of the players not so liking it, some of the players calling on the other players on that tip hotline, or as they call it, the NBA snitch hotline. Especially if you're Dwight Howard. My gosh, everybody seems to be snitching on him because he got a little slap on the wrist right there from the NBA telling him to put his mask on. And please, if you're out there, public service announcement, put that mask on. But be that as it may, I want to go ahead and talk today with a great guest about the NBA bubble. And no, not about JaVale McGee sliding down the water slide there at Typhoon Lagoon with Kyle Kuzma. I mean, that was the fact that they had it virtually all themselves just makes me mad, because when I went there, it was a lot more crowded, and there was lightning, and we had to leave like 5 hours early, and it was not very fun because they closed down the park. But need I digress? But I have a great guest on today. We're going to talk about the NBA bubble, but also the importance of Anthony Davis. What is the key to his success in the NBA playoffs, and how important is he to a Lakers championship? We're going to talk about all those variables, plus who he thinks is going to match up in the finals and go all the way in the NBA playoffs. You got to check out his awesome podcast today. In fact, for everybody out there on Facebook Live, I'm actually showing it to you right now. It's the Off the Ball podcast. It's right there for you. Great sports talk all over the spectrum, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, what have you. Great rated overall podcast. You can see right there for you as far as the number of stars he's got. So many people, great reviews right there for you. Again, it's the Off the Ball podcast. In fact, there's even a Facebook page as well I'm showing that you can go ahead and check it out today. It is Chris Lebron. And I'll tell you what, if there's no better last name to have right now in the NBA playoffs coming around the corner, it is yours, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Gerald, this is a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to chop it up with you.
Well, we're really great to have you here. It's just so awesome indeed. But I'm so excited because it's right around the corner, my friend. It's right around the corner. Next week, as we're talking, the scrimmages begin. Mm-hmm. I know there's been a couple of family matter issues, like Zion and Montrezl Harrell is the latest to go ahead and leave the campus and leave the bubble. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. I know Adam Silver, especially when it comes to Zion, is concerned about that, as far as when he will come back, how long is he going to have to be quarantined, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But overall, so far so good as far as the players within the bubble. I think virtually all of them are testing negative. The only positives are individuals that were on their way in transit, like Russell Westbrook, Eric Bledsoe. I don't think they had met up with the team at that point in time, so they're quarantined. The only thing I think Michael Beasley was the one that actually he was in quarantine. Yeah, and he just left. I think pretty much, his tenure. His tenure with Brooklyn is done. But I want to hear your thoughts on the NBA bubble so far. First off, how is it going for you in your expectations? How do you think it's coming along? And are you satisfied with what the NBA has done so far?
I mean, the NBA has done probably the best job out of all the sports as far as having a plan. Adam Silver has really, I've said this on so many occasions. You don't plan for an outbreak to happen. There's nothing in the handbook that tells you how to deal with a virus that has killed, so many people and has infected many more. So they have done the best they can. It's not easy to try to figure out how to get to restart the season. So I feel like they've done everything as well as possible. And as far as how they handled the bubble situation, like you said, other than guys for the most part that that haven't traveled, with the teams and stuff. Other than Beasley, no one's has to get tested positive so far. Hopefully, we that stays that way. It's going to be interesting to see once play begins and how that will work. But so far, I mean, the NBA has done a tremendous job, and Adam Silver should get high praise for it because this isn't easy to get a bunch of guys to pretty much say you can't see your family for months, especially if you're a team that's gonna make a deep playoff run. That's 3+ months of not seeing your family, and it takes a lot. That's a big sacrifice you're making, and I give kudos to the players for making that sacrifice because a lot of people don't have sympathy for these guys because they're millionaires and they're making so much money, but at the end of the day, a lot of these they have families, they have kids, they have wives, girlfriends, mothers, fathers they have to take care of, and not seeing them for a long period of time is definitely tough. But the NBA has handled this as good as possible, and it's a reason why Adam Silver is the best commissioner in sports. He's done a tremendous job getting this together, and it's going to be interesting to see once we get playing how everything works. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very satisfied with what the league has done so far. I wish they would be a little bit more allowant on what they're going to go ahead and say in the back of the players' jerseys. I wish they would have been a little bit looser on what they can and cannot say. I think there could be more powerful statements than what they're allowed to say in the NBA already. I also want to give a big shout out to Nancy. Say hi to you right out there. Thank you for watching the show right now. And I know we got a lot of viewers as well. Thank you so much for listening to us and watching us right now on Facebook Live. But I for the most part, you got to say when you're spending close to, I think it's $150 million that they will be spending overall when it comes down to it by the time it's all said and done. Mm-hmm. They're selling nothing short, and they're making sure that they're trying to provide the best platform possible for the player safety of the NBA. You've already heard, as far as, like I said before, the snitch hotline where everybody's snitching on each other. I'm sure everybody's trying to snitch on LeBron, Kawhi, and Giannis right about now. Yeah, Giannis. Yeah, he has no mask on. Yes, he's had it on for like several hours. He's had no mask on. Yes. Oh, this is not LeBron James. No, this is not. No. And hang up there right there for you.
Yeah.
Something like that. And also the fact that they were going ahead and being so enforceful as far as the parameters. Like we've already seen where Bruno Caboclo and also the player from Sacramento who both got Rashawn Holmes.
Rashawn Holmes,
Yes, because they crossed the imaginary line, at least in Rashawn Holmes' case, by getting
for some Grubhub. For some Grubhub.
Postmates, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, and they both got an extra 10 days of quarantine. So while JaVale McGee is having fun at Typhoon Lagoon with Kyle Kuzma, and I know the other players are fishing, and I know the other players are playing golf, they're stuck in a hotel room even as we speak, even longer. So that's kind of a bummer for them. But I want to, it's so glad. It makes me so glad that the NBA is truly backing up everything. They're really taking it seriously. Obviously, when they sent out that 100+ page memo, they were very serious about it. Still, a lot of people, a lot of the players, and a lot of the individuals, pundits out there, fans, we all had some very great trepidations about these players going into the bubble. But now that they're in there, I think at least for the most part, we can feel a little bit better about. I don't want to say, and I don't want to go knock on wood, that there's going to be a breakout, but I can say at least the NBA is trying to prevent it as best they can.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're like I said, they're doing the best job. I mean, we've seen how baseball has handled their comeback and their start to their season, and how ugly that's gotten. And football, it kind of seems like they're being very lax days ago about their start, as if everything's going to be smooth and there's we're going to have some fans there, and we're going to start on time. I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't really see how football, with the amount of players they have, and how that's going to start. But like you said, basketball, it just seems like they really listen to their players, which is why I love basketball, is that it seems they really listen to the players. They understand that the players are what drives this league, and you have to listen to them, and I think that's very important, to listen to your players, unlike some other sports where they don't really listen to their players. They just do what they want. But NBA, it's completely different, and that's why we all love basketball, because players have a lot of say, and they wanted this comeback. So if the players want it, you have to figure out a way to make it work. At basketball, they're doing everything as good as possible, and I like how they're approaching it, and I'm excited for basketball to come back.
So am I. But as someone who is extremely knowledgeable on sports like you are, and I've listened to a few of the episodes already of Off the Ball podcast. And once again, I was speaking to Chris Lebron from Off the Ball podcast. He has, again, a very highly rated podcast out there. You want to go ahead and check it out wherever you get your podcasts. I'm showing right now to everybody viewing out there the Off the Ball podcast Apple podcast link. But you've got, as everybody can see, there are so many episodes that they can choose from. A lot of great topics there. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, because as I'm looking at it, and as I was listening to your shows, I was thinking, we were talking about how well the NBA is done, but on the offshoot, the WNBA, which is also kind of like in a bubble, not as great facilities, not as great a setup, but also the controversy that's currently abound regarding one of the Atlanta Dreams owners, who is a member of Congress, who a lot of people may or may not disagree with her views. I don't know. I don't see the same kind of, even though it comes essentially from the same office, that same kind of support for the players that are there.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been an issue with the WNBA, the support and just how they've been treated as far as pay and just, promotion and all that. It's really been tough for the WNBA. I know they had negotiated a new deal where they'll get compensated better. I mean, you hear the horror stories about about the WNBA, and a lot of these tremendous athletes have to go play overseas to make money. And we saw Breanna Stewart, who was one of the best players in the league. She tore her Achilles overseas. That shouldn't be the case. If you want to make this league marquee, you got to make sure you compensate your players where they don't have to go overseas and risk their health for you. I mean, Breanna Stewart tore her Achilles and she missed out on a lot of time.
We see the U.S. women's soccer team. Where does the majority of them make the majority of their money? It's overseas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be the case. It should not be the case. WNBA is, there's so much talent in WNBA, and it just shouldn't be the case. I can understand. Some people will tell you that, it's not. The athleticism is not there, and that's why they don't get sponsorships, and that's why they don't get the publicity. Blah blah blah. And you hear that, and that's kind of. Of course, obviously they're not going to be as athletic. We get that, but the basketball is still great. It's great. It's high-level basketball. I mean, some of these girls could probably beat some of the guys we see in the NBA, so it's unfortunate. And I saw the conditions in their bubble, and it wasn't pleasant. That was tough to see, and they shouldn't have to go through this. I mean, this league. I mean, when this league first came up, it was tremendous. It was must see, and it seems like they just declined the product. They're not showing the same. Obviously, you're not going to show the same level of the NBA as far as network deals and all that. But this, like I said, there's some really good players. There's some really good teams out there, and for them to not take it as serious with the WNBA, it's just unfortunate. But I'm hoping that in the next, they can figure something out, because, like I said, WNBA, it's great. I love it. I love watching the WNBA. Sabrina Ionescu. I'm a Liberty fan, and I'm excited about her. Helping bring the Liberty back to the glory days. I remember, when WNBA first started, the Liberty were one of the best teams. They were making it to the finals. They lost to the Houston in the championship. But to see them I feel like she's gonna. I feel like with her presence, she was a big time college star, and obviously her interactions with Kobe Bryant was tremendous, and he was big with her, and she feels like she has star power, and I feel like she can help bring this league back, back to respectability that it should. I have respect for it, but it feels like a lot of people aren't giving them respect. But a lot of those gals are really talented, and I'm hoping that more people will back up. And you see a lot of the NBA players are on their side and they back them up. So hopefully that can get to higher ups, and these ladies can get compensated the way they should, because there's a lot of talented ladies out there.
I'm hoping so as well. I'm wishing the best for the WNBA as they try to go ahead and complete their season in the bubble as well. So I'm wishing the best for them and everyone else that watches and follows the WNBA. But getting back into the NBA once again, and I want to ask you this in regards to the bubble. I mean, we have the teams there now. They're practicing. You even see Victor Oladipo, who said he wasn't going to participate, now is thinking about participating when it concerns him getting his full 2+ to almost to even actually if it works out almost $3 million that he could be losing if he doesn't go ahead and plays, because he said he just didn't want to play because he was worried about anything of that nature. So, but he's down there practicing, of course.
He came.
Yeah, so it's funny, these situations that are down there that are coming up, but for the most part, it seems like it's a good situation for the league. It's a good situation for the players down there as they continue practicing and getting into it right now with the playoffs, sir, because we're having 8 games left, and there's still a fight for the 8th seed on both sides. Still some positioning, although home and away, there really is no home and away. So
no more home court.
Yeah, you're only worried about getting within if you're in the 4 to 5 slot, you're looking to try and see if you can get in the 2-3 slot. If you're in the 2-3 slot, you're looking to just stay in the 2-3 slot, et cetera, et cetera. You don't really care about there's no home and away, like you said. But I want to ask you this: getting into the playoffs itself, who do you see as sneaking in or getting in as the 8th seed in both the Eastern and Western Conference?
I think in the East, I mean, I don't think Washington has a chance to even make it. I mean, no, especially without Bradley Beal, it's kind of set in stone. So I think it's Orlando and Brooklyn right now. They'll probably get those last 2 spots. Even though Brooklyn, I mean, we don't even know who's gonna be playing for them. It feels like, and they just lost Beasley. So I mean, I don't even know who's gonna play for them. But by default, they'll with only 8 games left. I mean,
you better stay by the phone because they may call you.
Hey, I'm ready. I know my knees are a little banged up, but hey, if they need me to have a couple minutes here, I could use all 6 fouls, and I could use that. They could use that. But I think it's going to be Brooklyn and I'm thinking of the team. I just said Orlando, yeah, and Washington has no chance. And in the West, I mean, the Memphis has just been tremendous this year. I mean, only 1 game under 500. To think that they would start this this rebuild so quick. I mean, I think we thought they'd be improved, but not to this extent. To play tremendous basketball. Ja Morant is runaway rookie of the year. I know people want Zion, and I love Zion. I'm a Duke fan. I love Zion so much, but it's Ja's. He's the runaway rookie of the year, no matter what. He's elevated that team in the Western Conference. It's only 1 game under 500, and he's played tremendous. So I think they'll, I know Portland, that's disappointing, very disappointing. And, they might get Nurkic back. He's missed a lot of time after that, that gruesome injury, and Melo, and they have the pieces, but it's going to be tough to come back. I think they're three and a half games out of that spot.
Them, Sacramento, and also New Orleans are all 3.5 games, although they even each have a different 1-loss record. They're like kind of weird how they fits out, but they're all 3.5 games back. They just have to stay within 4 games of Memphis in order to go ahead and get into a 2-game playoff where they would have to win 2 in a row on Memphis. So that is a possibility.
I don't like that, because if they have the 4-game lead on them, Memphis should get the 8 seed. Then to play a 2-game playoff, and if whoever wins that, if it's Sacramento or if it's New Orleans, they win it, but they technically finish 4 games back. I don't know if I'm crazy about that, but
Well, you know why. You know
well,
why they're
of course
doing
I know why. I know Zion. It's Zion, Zion. Everything's Zion, Zion, Zion. He's the poster child. He's the money maker. He is the next face of the league. And I get it. I totally get it. He's been a star for, it feels like the last 3 years, going back to his junior year of high school, where he kind of got, his fame on the internet. And obviously that 1 year at Duke, he just exploded, and Duke does fine without big names just because of the brand and Coach K, but he took them to another level. They were must watch TV. Even if you hated Duke, you watched Duke games. So I understand his star power, and he's possibly the next guy after LeBron James to take the torch and be the face of face of the league. So I understand that why they did it. It makes sense because and I think they have the easiest schedule. If I recall, they have one of the
Chris,
easiest.
you still there?
Oh,
I got you.
Okay.
Got you back.
Yeah, they have one of the easiest schedules for the rest of the season. So I mean, they obviously, we all know they want Zion and New Orleans in that 8 seed, but I just think Memphis just got too much of a lead, and they just got a more complete team right now than New Orleans, and I think Memphis will take that 8 spot.
Well, there you go. I think that for me, Portland is going to be the one that I think is going to sneak out because, like you said, Nurkic comes back healthy. Zach Collins comes back healthy. So they have 2 big guys. They don't really have a wing player that's going to be able to help, I guess, make a big push with them because Trevor Ariza is out. Of course, Rodney Hood's still out. But they're still with the backcourt of Damian Lillard and also CJ McCollum. I think that along with the big guys getting back healthy could give them that push to go ahead and get within the amount of games necessary to go ahead and get in that 2-game playoffs. And I see them matching up very well against Memphis if that's the case. Yeah,
I mean, and they got Carmelo Anthony too, and being a Knicks fan and seeing Melo for all these years, I'm rooting for him in any way to get far in the playoffs. So if that's the case, I mean, like I said, they were in the Western Conference Finals last year, so they, obviously this season was a bit of a disappointment. But if Portland were to get there, they obviously would have the edge over Memphis, as far as just having experience and all that. But I just like this Memphis team, man. I just something about them. Ja's playing, Jaren Jackson. They just got some nice pieces there, and I feel like they're going to hold on to that lead for sure.
Once again, I'm speaking to Chris Lebron from the Off the Ball podcast. You got to check out what he's doing today on every available podcast outlet. Again, you're watching on Facebook Live, his Apple podcast page right there. Also, he's available on social media. You look right here on Facebook. Go ahead and like what he's doing today. In fact, I'm doing it now as we speak right here at the Lakers Fast Break. I'm going ahead and liking his page on Facebook. You need to do the same right there, Off the Ball podcast for you. I want to ask you this, as someone who plays 2K every now and then, and someone who likes to utilize the skills of Anthony Davis, I think he is going to be a major key in regards to the NBA playoffs overall, because how he plays with LeBron in the NBA playoffs is going to be key to see how far the Lakers will go, but also if the Lakers will come out on top. So I ask you this. Just how important is AD, Anthony Davis, to the Lakers coming up in the NBA playoffs? Oh,
he's the best defender in the league. I mean, he's my defensive player of the year. I mean, he's so important. I mean, obviously we see how this team was last year with how the pieces they had, and then you add Anthony Davis, and the team is just different. I mean, they're the number 1 seed, and they go the way he go. I know LeBron is still. He's still tremendous, and he gets all the praise, and he gets all the MVP, MVP love. But I think Anthony Davis should be, right there with LeBron, if not ahead of LeBron in the MVP discussion, because he's been a game changer for them. He's defensively, what he can do defensively. He can guard 1 through 5. You can't get past him because he's so long. He's just and obviously he could do it offensively. He's still averaging 26, 27 points a game and almost 10 rebounds a game. But what he does defensively in pick and roll situations to be able. I mean, how many bigs we see get in pick and roll situations, and the guard gets right past them, and it's an easy bucket. And that's why you see a lot of bigs today. They're kind of getting phased out. We see the big men era is getting phased out because a lot of these bigs, you get put in pick and roll situations, and that you become a liability. That's not the case with Anthony Davis. He's not a liability defensively at all. Like I said, I think he's the best defender in the league, and he's going to be the big reason why if the Lakers get to their ultimate destination, and that is the NBA Finals. And like I said, he's a tremendous player, and if the Lakers want to win a championship, he's going to have to play at a high level. Obviously he hasn't been to the playoffs a lot. Has had a couple playoffs. He won one playoff series a few years ago, but obviously hasn't been there a lot. But I think he'll be ready to go. And with LeBron there, I mean that's one of the best 1-2 punches we'll ever see. So, but Anthony Davis is just absolutely tremendous, and he's going to be the reason why whether the Lakers are in the finals or not, because he just does everything defensively, and with the size they have there with JaVale McGee also and Dwight Howard, I mean it's going to be hard for teams. Green, Danny Green also is a solid defender. LeBron could still defend, is not as good a defender as he was a few years ago, but still a good defender. I just think that he anchors that defense, and he makes everyone else a better defender, and so he's going to be the glue for that team to see if how far they get, because he's tremendous, absolutely tremendous. He's Tim Duncan, but maybe better, as far as obviously the accolades, but just for pure talent, he's Tim Duncan with maybe a better offensive game. It's crazy how good he is, and he's gonna get to showcase this, and this is gonna be his moment to see how where he stacks up as far as all-time greats, because this could be his shining moment.
Absolutely, and it better be if the Lakers want to go far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And before we go and turn it over to you to go ahead and sell to our listeners and viewers out there why people need to check out the Off the Ball podcast, let's go ahead and finish and wrap up the bubble playoff conversation with your thoughts on who will go all the way in the Western and the Eastern Conference as far as a matchup, and who will ultimately win the NBA championship.
Well, before the season started, I had the Sixers taking on the Clippers. Obviously, the Sixers have gone through their ups and downs this year. Interesting to see how they'll look going into the bubble restart. Obviously, Ben Simmons, they're going to put him at power forward, so maybe that'll change up. They'll have some him and Embiid as their bigs. Should be interesting to see. But in the East, I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I know. I feel like last year, the disappointment of being up 2-0 and then losing 4 straight, and just how, Giannis, obviously the Giannis MVP last year, and he kind of did it with just going to the paint and just driving. And, we saw in the last 4 games against Toronto how they kind of build the wall. They built the wall and said, we know you can't shoot, and the only thing you can do is drive. We're not going to let you get past the foul line. And I think, he's learned from that. Obviously, he has developed a little bit of a jump shot. Still not perfect. He's still a work in progress, but at least it's respectable. So I think that's going to be big. And Chris Middleton's, he's had a tremendous year too. 22 points a game. I think he's 90, 50, 40. I mean, that's really impressive for a guy like that. So he's going to have pressure on him, and they're going to need him to step up his game. But I see them coming out, and in the West, to me, it comes down to the Battle of LA. Those are the 2 best teams. I don't see anyone else coming close. It's going to be Clippers versus Lakers, and I'm going to go with the Lakers. I just think LeBron is just destined to get to the finals. I know the Clippers have the depth, but it seemed like they had some chemistry issues, with their team as early on. But obviously, I wonder how that's going to be, with the restart. But they have depth. Obviously, they have so much depth. Their bench can probably beat a lot of teams' starting lineups. Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams. They got so much. Zubac. They have Reggie Jackson. They just added, so they got so much talent. But I just think LeBron and AD combination, I think gets it done in 7 games versus the Clippers. And, it's going to be interesting to see how Kawhi and Paul George help. They've been battling a lot of injuries this whole year, so it's going to be interesting to see how their health is going into the bubble. But I just think it's Lakers' destiny to get there, and I think the Lakers win it all. I think the Lakers win the championship, and it adds to LeBron's legacy and adds to that Laker legacy that he's been wanting. He came here because he wanted to be a part of that allure. He wanted to be with Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Shaquille O'Neal, all the greats, Pau Gasol. He wanted to be a part of that legendary core because a lot of, to be considered a great Laker, you got to win a championship. So I think that's the mentality, and obviously, the unfortunate passing of Kobe Bryant. I just think he's, we've seen how LeBron's he's that look of his, and I just feel like it's just destiny, and the Lakers are going to win the championship this year.
Well, that's right there a great statement because I feel the same way. Although you got to remember that LeBron was also coming here to LA to go ahead and grow his production company, and he's made some deals already that have been very impressive, and his future after basketball or even outside of basketball looks even brighter possibly than what you could say right now from his playing career, because he's already signed some big deals in Hollywood and and he himself with his production company. I mean, that's the reason, one of the reasons, like you said, outside of continuing the Laker legacy, was to go ahead and build a career after his playing days are done. And he's doing so in the form of just enhancing his portfolio, and especially with his production company is doing so indeed. But it's just, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm picking the Lakers. I think the LeBron AD combo is going to be difficult to stop. AD, I believe, is ready to go ahead and meet up to the challenge. He certainly looks like it. Hopefully he won't get his affinity for little injuries here and there like he seems to pick up during the course of a season. He says he's healthy right now, so it's a great sign for Lakers fans out there, so I'm looking forward to it. But I'll tell you what, it's just been so great talking today, Chris. But before we head on out, I want you to go ahead and, again, sell people on your awesome podcast, and I'm going to be showing again why you talk about it, and that's the Off the Ball podcast, now available wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, so Off the Ball podcast, like you said, it's available on all podcast platforms, and it's I do a lot of interviews. I've interviewed a lot of potential NBA draft picks for this upcoming NBA draft. So I've had about 5 to 6 guys on the show. So that's something I've really taken a key to. It's been fun, interviewing these guys and seeing their journey, telling their story about how they got to where they got. A lot of these guys, a lot of guys transferred, and they just talk about that road, and it's a lot of good conversations talking about the life of a college basketball player and that whole journey, and the process of picking a team and all that. So I've done a few of those, and that's definitely been fun. I've interviewed a lot of journalists, some guys from The Athletic, some local beat writers from in where I'm from in New York City. Especially, I've done a lot of Knicks stuff too. I'm a Knicks fan. Unfortunately, hopefully we can get back on track, with this offseason. But I do a lot of Knicks stuff. I talk a lot about the Knicks, and I did a show 2 nights ago and talked a lot about the Knicks. I had another show with a guy from the Ballers Life. He does a podcast, 4 seasons for the Balls Life podcast. So I just had him on, so I'll have that up today. But yeah, I just do a lot of hosting, talk a lot. Talk a lot about basketball. I've done a lot of basketball stuff, and sprinkled in some fantasy football stuff, some football stuff. I love talking football, baseball, basketball, but I've kind of made this I talk a lot of basketball, and it's been great. I've grown this show from just talking to the computer with no direction, just spitballing and not knowing what the heck I'm talking about, and just going, and then growing this show as and seeing the little, the little gain it's has taken. It's been tremendous. So I'm excited about the future. I got some big plans in store for the future of this podcast and networking. So I'm excited about this, and check it out. Off the Ball podcast, like I said, available on all podcast platforms. You can follow me Off the Ball Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm very active on social media, so hit me up. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'll tell you what, and once again, it is Chris Lebron from the Off the Ball podcast, available everywhere you get your podcasts. Long-suffering Knicks fan, I guess is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
I know I speak to NBA Draft Junkies head Rafael Barlow all the time, and he tells me that because he puts out a lot of mock drafts, he puts out a lot of opinions, and it puts out a lot of different things, especially on the NBA draft. And one of the things that he always, when he covers the New York Knicks, and people get upset about it now because he was on a mock draft the other day, and people talk about how Knicks fans, you don't want to make a pick almost because Knicks fans are going to be upset with whatever you guys, pick or choose or whatnot out there. If it's not named LaMelo Ball. So I'm just going to say this: the Knicks, they're taking a small step in the right direction with a new GM. New people in place, a new coach coming along the way, and they do have some assets, and hopefully they'll get a high pick and go ahead and start turning things around, because these fans in New York, like yourself, certainly deserve it. And
I hope so.
We suffered here in LA. Well, actually, I'm not in LA anymore, but we suffered as LA Lakers fans for 7 years. And so I'm hoping for the same for you guys out in New York, and that you'll be able to be a powerhouse, because the league is always better when the Knicks are relevant and ready to play some basketball.
That is true. It's always. It's crazy how the Garden is now, and we haven't had we haven't made the playoffs in 7 years. So just imagine if we have a team that's competitive on the court. I mean, it's always good when those big teams, Boston, LA, New York, Chicago, it's always good for the NBA when those teams are good. So hopefully, you got LA has obviously, got back, to playing great basketball. Boston's there. Chicago, New York got to catch up. So hopefully, with a good off season, we can get back rolling and get back in this playoff hunt, because I'm starving for it. It's too long, man.
One suggestion, though: keep James Dolan away from the piggy bank. Keep him away from personnel.
I mean, he's so far he's kind of let Leon Rose do his thing and hire some really talented NBA, smart NBA guys, which he has done. So far so good. But as Knicks fans, we all know that bad things always happen to us with this franchise. So we're just praying that we don't read a headline in the news or in the Post the next day. So far so good, but hey, we still got a lot more time for them to mess it up. So, but hopefully everything stays the way it is, because it seems like they're finally figuring this thing out. So we can only wait and see.
Well, it is going to be good, because I think Leon Rose is a step in the right direction. I mean, as a high-profile agent, we here in Lakerland know that all too well. It's when we have a high-profile agent that was made into a GM, now is the vice president, and now is leading the right decisions to help the Lakers go ahead and help them achieve things that they haven't achieved in many years. So I'm hoping for the same for the Knicks. Looking to see, hopefully 2-3 years, we're going to be seeing the LA Knicks finals. Hopefully one day.
The NBA would love that.
Oh,
ratings would be through the roof. So I'm hoping for it. I'll take. But let's start with a playoff appearance first, before we get to the finals.
Okay, baby steps.
An 8 seed. Give me an 8 seed, and we could go from there.
Okay, fair enough indeed. Once again, I'm speaking to Chris Lebron from the Off the Ball podcast. You got to check out everything that he's doing today at the Off the Ball podcast, available everywhere you get your podcasts. Well, Chris, it's just been so great talking to you. I cannot thank you enough for joining me on today's podcast. I want to bring you back on as the NBA bubble and the playoffs continue.
Yes.
Going to have many weeks down there, many days down there, many more JaVale McGee Insta blogs, video blogging. Possibly
I've just followed his YouTube page, so now
he's all over now. He's become more popular than ever, just going ahead and just having fun. He's trying to make the best of it.
Exactly. That's all you can do.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm hoping that the Lakers will make a best of it this year, that they'll make the best of it this time in the playoffs and go ahead and lead into a championship. And I'll tell you what, Chris, it's just been so great having you aboard, talking about all the things that are going on in the NBA bubble right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast.